Hello, everybody. My name is Simon. I'm the host of today's stream. Welcome to Casually Conducting, where we casually conduct conversations about topics that we make up. Today, I'll be co-host. Will be
Parker. Me.
Parker.
Yeah.
That was my line.
Yeah.
But yeah, today. Sorry. In a frizzle today. Also, if our stream ends, our power has gone out, and you will never see us till next week. So.
We're very rainy, thunderstormy Sunday evening.
Yeah, real crackly in the sky. Some crackles here and there. But yeah, today's topic, we will be starting off with fear. Things we are afraid of and how we deal with those situations. No, I'm not reading off a prompt.
There's a giant teleprompter in this room.
No, it's big. It's the size of that A bookshelf. Bigger, maybe.
Then, after we get done talking about fears, we will go into money. What exactly is money? What does money stand for? What is the concept of money?
And why is gold so pretty? I mean, valuable.
And then we will maybe touch on legalizing marijuana if we have the time.
Sounds good to me. Sounds good to you? Sounds good to me.
Sounds good to me.
All right, let's get us started. So, fears. What's a fear of yours, Parker?
Fear of mine probably be messing up.
Define. What do you mean by that? Messing up.
What do you mean by that?
What do you mean by that? My son.
Like, I'm afraid to make mistakes, but at the same time, I know we're all going to make mistakes.
Mistakes are going to be made. You're right about that. Being scared of, being fearful of making like an audience, like or in front of people. Is that what you mean? Like,
No, just like in general, making mistakes.
Or if you're by yourself.
Yeah. You make a mistake by yourself.
Are you scared of it?
It's more so I don't like consequences. Sometimes I'm scared to act on things and suffer the consequences. Because I've always felt like I had to do everything right, everything by the book, and just like there's no room for error.
You just want to do what you do and do it right.
Right. It's like,
that's understandable. I mean,
because whenever I feel like I mess up, it's going to cause like a butterfly effect of consequences and other non-beneficial actions.
and it could, but not often, but sometimes I guess it could be helpful to mess up. I mean, you can't learn without messing up.
Right.
So should you be fearful of messing up, or it really depends, doesn't it?
Right. It kind of depends on the situation and what choice is being made.
Yeah.
It's like, for me, messing up, it's like everything's going to go wrong after that.
Yeah. Like a bad day.
Right.
God, I love bad days.
Who doesn't love bad
Oh
days?
yeah, Mondays especially. But no. I think people should mess up. I think people shouldn't be scared to mess up. And I'd love to help you with that fear of messing up and push you over and make you mess up on purpose. That'd be awesome. To try to help you with yourself, I guess.
Like,
No. See, I'm helping. You're messing up, and I'm helping.
no, you're missing me.
No.
Listen,
I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah. What would be a good fear? Something that not irrational, but something that's like a good fear to have. Something that would be proper, and not like somebody runs up to you and holds a gun and you're scared. But like, what's something on a daily basis that would be understandable to have? and people not judge you for it.
Good fear to have meeting new people.
Oh, that is a good one.
Because, dude, people get abducted every day.
Yeah.
It's like, there was, if I can get my words right, there was a girl abducted at the basketball game.
Oh, I'm not sure.
And it was 8 people, like, here recently found guilty of kidnapping her and torturing her and stuff like that.
Really? Wow.
All just because she went in the bathroom. Girls' bathroom.
It's crazy we've got to worry about these things.
Right. It's like, I always feel like I was born in the wrong generation, more so for the fact that, I mean, whenever I hear stories of the old days, I always hear about how good everything was. You didn't have any school shootings. You didn't have any. You never really heard anything about rape, mass murders.
I mean, you can't say it like that. There, of course, were stuff like that, you know?
It just didn't happen as frequent.
No, well, I mean, the more a population expands, the more frequent crimes in general will be committed. It's not like there were never crimes before and now there are crimes. Like, it never did that.
And you're right.
I think we just have a situation we have to deal with in our generation. Our generation that was dealt with differently in the past. You know, it's a different era, and it has to be dealt with differently.
That's why I always believed that just because of the way I look, I could never be kidnapped. Well, I'm a big dude. I'm 6'2". I weigh 260 pounds.
I ain't kidding that. I would.
Good luck trying.
I'd put you in my basement.
What basement?
My attic.
We're in the attic.
Exactly. It worked, didn't it?
Hey, I came here willingly.
Or did you?
You didn't force me to come here.
I don't know. Drugs are a powerful thing.
I consumed anything from this household in the last week.
Mm-hmm. But last week you did.
I'm one drug that's powerful enough to last a week.
Peanut butter. No. Not for real. Like in the past, we had horrible things. Like racism was huge in the past. It was so horrible that people just all together decided against it and threw it out the window. Of course, there was a Civil War fault, and the good side won, or the correct side won, I should say. But again, there were just issues with every generation. There's always going to be problems that need to be solved that are horrendous, you know?
Right. But, Sean, sound like a fear. What's something that you're afraid of?
Oh, well, I'm scared of heights. For no reason. I'm just scared of heights. And I can kind of ignore it, you know? I can do what I need to do in a high spot, you know? But it's just, for no reason, my body just wants to walk the other direction.
Maybe whenever you're faced with the opportunity, I guess, for lack of better terms, to gain heights or be at a certain height.
I like being at certain heights. Like, I like being probably 12 foot in the air. That's pretty fun. But anything past like 16 and my body's just like, you're not safe right now. You're not in a safe spot. And it's just really weird. And I get all jittery and shaky and, you know, which makes it worse, you'd think, you know, being high up, holding on. Let's say climbing a tree. You'd be really freaking high up. You don't want to get jittery and shaky. That's not a good... But my body does it anyways. Even if I'm safe. Like, if I'm on a man-made structure that goes 30 feet in the air, I'm safe. Unless I jump over the guardrails, I'm not going to fall.
Right.
Even if I'm against the guardrail and fall, I'm not going to fall over it, you know?
More so, I mean, that's a very rational fear, though. Like being scared of snakes, being scared of spiders.
Why are people scared of spiders? Because some people, you can just look at. Some people pick up spiders and stuff, and then like I'm not scared of spiders, but if there's a spider crawling on me, I'll freak out.
Right, I'm gonna get it off.
Yeah, but why is that? Why do we have that fear?
Because I guess in some ways the overall dangers that they may possess. Because I mean, whenever there's a spider on you, you're not gonna look at it just to see like, hey, what kind of spider is this? Let me analyze it real quick. You just
like knee-jerk reaction.
it's like a overall like bad rap given for snakes, spiders, insects, whatever the case may be.
Well, that's the thing. We don't even have to see the spider and just think there's a spider on us, and we freak out like that. It'd have to be. Of course, it's something evolutionary, but I mean, we don't run into spiders every day.
And it's like roaches.
Yeah, people are scared of roaches, and roaches aren't even dangerous. You literally can put your hand in a vat of roaches.
And nothing's gonna
and
happen.
nothing's gonna happen to you. I mean, the poop itself is not good, and they're dirty insects, but it's not gonna kill you to touch them or anything.
For me, it was always how fast they moved.
Little skittery fellas. I love the ones the wood roaches that like fly and like to land on your face and stuff.
Everybody ganks until a roach start flying.
Oh my gosh. Well, I got a story to tell on that one.
I was just pumping gas a solid 30 minutes ago, 45 minutes ago, and obviously, it was raining. I just felt something on my leg. I just looked down, a roach had crawled up my leg. I mean, I just kind of, smacked it off, but it's not like I was like, oh my gosh, there's a roach in my leg.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. My mom, she was sleeping one day. And this has probably happened to a few of y'all, but it's absolutely disgusting. She was sleeping one day, and she just, kind of halfway asleep, halfway awake, rolled over. And she just felt and heard right on her cheek, on her face, right here, just. It startled her, up, and she got up and stuff, and she was looking around. She didn't see anything. And then she could just feel something walk from her forehead down to her eye. And she just freaked the frick out. You just hear screaming from across the house. And, oh, shoot! And she jumped up and, Neil, there's something on me. That's my dad, by the way, Neil. But yeah, scared the bejesus out of her. But it's not a dangerous creature. It's not going to hurt her.
Right.
There was no reason for a reaction like that.
But at the same time,
It could have been a spider.
roaches to us and other insects, it's not, we don't have the normality of, or like the connection to those insects. Like with our dogs, if our dog just comes bursting in a house, okay, they're in the house. Well, we love our dogs. But it ain't like whenever the dog licks all over you because they like to see you. That's normal. But now, you're not really going to appreciate a roach crawling on you, or two roaches, or three roaches, or unless you own a spider or a snake, or even roaches at that point, because some people do have hissing cockroaches.
And those people are weird and we shun them from society.
No.
Yes.
No.
They're gone.
No.
I've already tried.
We're
slowly dwindling.
We don't do that.
As we speak. But no. It's just weird. Because we have no reason to fear these things. Even as kids, that I'm not gonna say all kids, but some kids will freak out at seeing little crawly things on the ground. Like I'm talking like big toddler baby kids, They'll see something crawling, they'll be curious. And then other kids will see something crawling and they'll just break out crying.
But it's like the thing of it is like going to the zoo, for example, and you see like the lion exhibit where the walls are only like 8 feet tall. Those lions have enough reason to and means of an escape.
I mean, if they really tried, they probably could just jump over, right?
Right.
You think a lion? Because I've seen an alligator scale a fence. As stupid as that sounds, there's videos of alligators climbing over fences, like 6 foot fences. It's weird and kind of scary.
At the same time, what's normally the first thing we go to whenever we go to the zoo?
Alligators, lions.
The lion exhibit, the alligator exhibit,
I mean, it's the most. They're kind of up there.
or
they're
like
popular.
the gorilla exhibit.
Those are weird. Gorillas are weird. Oh, that's a different topic. Wait, no, that's a different topic.
No, because people can be afraid of gorillas.
Oh, true.
Which, and at that point, I mean, it's not like you really see a gorilla in the United States unless they're in captivity. But at the same time, it's like gorillas are just naturally strong.
They're buff motherfuckers.
I'm finna give you something to think about. We have never seen a gorilla at their fullest extent.
What do you mean by that?
Like humans, for example, we go about our daily lives. We might gain a little bit of muscle.
So you're saying, like, imagine a bodybuilder gorilla?
Basically. Like, if we could show a gorilla discipline and lift weights and all that, you know how much massive that thing would be? Because, I mean, they're already naturally strong.
That's crazy. Wait, that's actually crazy. What?
We've never seen a gorilla at their fullest extent.
So,
Because, they walk around on their, hands and feet.
I mean, that's what Bigfoot is, obviously. He's just a buff gorilla.
Yeah, sure.
That's weird, though. Imagine, because yeah, like you said, they're already massive. But they do that because they are built to climb trees. When they're very small, they start climbing trees easily, scaling up buildings with the greatest of ease. That's how they. Yeah, that's how they build the muscle. Do you think there's like a physical limit for gorillas though, because they're built specifically for climbing things like that, or do you think that they're like us, where they could just push it and push it and push it?
They needed to, because the law of nature will make you do anything. If they absolutely needed to, they could push it.
Buff gorilla.
Buff gorilla doesn't exist. He
won't hurt you.
Over there in the corner, just.
What's another? You got any other fears?
I would say some like natural events, like natural disasters, like tornadoes and hurricanes, and because rain doesn't really hurt anything.
Rain's corrosive, erodive. It erodes stuff. That's the word I meant to say.
But
is it erosive? Erosive? I don't know.
It has the ability to erode.
Yeah, because it's so consistent. Like I work at a factory, and some of these pipes have had water pipes. They're harmless, but they've had little leaks for 50 years, easy. And if you look at the concrete, there's like an inch deep, just freaking hole. Yeah, it's just freaking hole in the concrete. Not like an inch straight down, real net. No, it was like a little dip that goes down about an inch. Where obviously water has been sitting for 50 years, just dripping. And that's like a.
But that's over time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we can't just push that away.
Hell's frozen water. If you want to get specific.
Well, see, hail is at a different state of like.
I know it's a different state of water, but.
When's the last time we had hail around here?
It wasn't too long ago.
That was been a pretty fat minute.
No, it wasn't. No, we had hell probably like 2 months ago. Yeah, we had some hell about 2 months ago.
But like seeing the capabilities that tornadoes and hurricanes possess.
They're scary. They're cool though. Like they're scary and cool, just like gorillas. Oh, and y'all can talk in chat too. We'll talk to y'all if y'all talk to us. So feel free. So what's some of y'all's fear? Y'all's fears that y'all have?
This is probably an irrational fear of mine, just because around here the probability of it is just very, very low,
Yeah.
but it's still possible at the same time. Tsunamis.
The ocean. Continue with tsunamis. That's
Because
definitely a good thing to fear.
that you're looking at basically instant death right there.
Yeah, you're not living through.
Just to see like a 100, 200 foot wall of water, basically just.
Oh, so you're talking about super tsunamis then? Okay. Because we got normal tsunamis and they're like 30 feet tall, you know.
Right.
But then you got like super tsunamis, which are like tall as like skyscrapers and stuff.
Right.
Super, super rare, catastrophic, you know.
My husband. Quit making me eat my words. But I mean, like that happened in Japan and overseas. Rarely, I guess, more so than it would happen here.
I mean, a tsunami just hit Hawaii not too long ago. It was some volcano in the middle of nowhere, underwater, just erupted, and it sent like, I mean, it hit starts with a C. California. It hit California, and they got like 5 feet of water from it, and it was like 3,000 miles away, and they got like waves 3 feet high from it, like over the safety rails 3 feet high, not like 3 feet high waves.
Like for me, just like being on the beach and then all of a sudden you just see a huge wave coming at you.
Well, you know what would happen with that? You know the science behind it?
Yeah, it's something that's
Not how it happens, but what happens when it does happen. Like if you're standing on the beach and are looking out the water, what you'll see.
I don't know the science behind it.
Well, essentially, what would happen is you wouldn't see the wave itself, but the water inside of on the beach, the water on the beach would actually fall away from the beach, and you'd get heavy back tide, and the tide would disappear essentially, and then you'd start seeing a wave in the distance, just kind of come over.
Oh yeah, like the whole natural where the water comes back and
Yeah, the water would flow back into the tsunami, and that would probably kill the most people on the beach, because there's a lot of people in the water, and it would just suck them into the ocean and then fall over on them.
if you're one of the unlucky ones to like get knocked out as soon as you get hit by it, and you get thrown from said tsunami,
I'd rather get knocked out.
I would rather get knocked out. I'd rather drown knocked out than get thrown and suffer slowly and then die.
Thrown and beat against stuff and scratched while you're impaled and crap. Caitlin Knowles says, I'm fearful of roaches, Ratch, and me driving her crazy. Well, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to deal with all three of those. I collect all three of those. I collect Simon's roaches and rats. Sorry, I just had to pick on her.
It's like whenever I get posed with the question, would you rather burn to death or drown to death? For me, it's more so I'd rather drown.
And the reason I say that is because you can you can feel it burn you, but almost immediately after, you don't feel that pain. And this is from personal experience. I've had really, really bad burns on my hand, and after the burns, like third-degree burns, like it peeled off, and really bad burns on my hand. And after the burns, like, were happened, I felt stinging, but that's it. My hands were so badly damaged, the nerves couldn't. There was no pain there. All I felt was stinging from surrounding flesh, and it wasn't even unbearable. It was just
Right. And that's because
like
third-degree burns, they burn nerve endings.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the same time, whenever you drown, as soon as the water hits your lungs, you knock out.
Yeah.
And I guess more so that I'd have a chance at my survival, depending on where I'm at. Caitlin, we all know between me and Simon that I am the superior driver.
Ramen noodles. If you're having loading issues, that's not our side.
No.
We're streaming on the Green Excellent, so.
No, that's literally his. He literally uploaded the loading image.
Oh.
But
no, we don't have a face cam.
Not yet, but we might.
Yeah, there's no face cam right here.
Kind of thinking about streaming on Twitch.
Like you personally?
Like both of us for the podcast.
Just our faces?
Well, yeah.
No audio?
Oh.
Nah. You got us?
Because of the loading image. He got me too, because I thought he was commenting something.
No, I wasn't saying that. I thought his comment was loading. I thought he was like posting that because our video was slow for him or something.
Would love to see your beautiful faces. Thank you.
My face is less beautiful. I don't have a beard anymore.
I don't have hair on the top of my head anymore. But like, we could like slap a casually.
Throw off of my wall.
I'm sorry. But like, slap a casually conducting thing up here.
Where'd it come from?
Oh, so we're not beautiful, huh? No, he told us we're not beautiful.
Are you offended?
I'm a little bit offended.
We gotta beat up this ramen noodles guy.
But like, we're all afraid of something, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah.
Whether how small, how big, how rational, how irrational. But at the same time, fears aren't a bad thing to have because it makes you precautious.
I mean, that's the same thing with pain. Like, because, they say pain's a good thing. Well, why is pain a good thing? Because if you touch something hot, you're going to know you're burning yourself.
Right.
And you're going to react to that pain to get it to stop. The same with fear. Fear protects you from scary stuff. So if you're in a scary situation, that fear would convince you to leave that situation to protect yourself.
Right. I was joking about the loading thing, trying to bamboozle y'all.
Oh, we're bamboozled.
Bamboozled.
That is for sure what you did. It worked so well, we're confused. Money. I got some money. You got some money? Mr. Squidward. I think the start of both of those voices was pretty good, and then it kind of decayed.
Right. Okay. Drugs are bad. Okay. But, like, money, it's just in all reality, it's just a concept.
It's just a concept. It's not a real thing. Just a concept. Like, I'm quoting something. I don't remember what, but it's something. Money's fake, and we should all overthrow the government.
If it wasn't for the U.S. Federal Bank?
Yeah, U.S. Federal Bank.
The money would have no basis. Because, I mean,
It doesn't have a basis. Our money isn't based on anything.
Right.
Reagan got us off of the gold, national gold standard. So our money, the dollar bill, is literally based off of nothing, just itself. And maybe other currencies, but like in general, there's no physical thing it's based off of. You know,
Like, for example, this Dr. Pepper.
was it Reagan? I don't know. One of the presidents did that. Sorry, continue.
No, you're good. Like this Dr. Pepper Dark Berry, for example. It's worth $3. Maybe $2-3. But how do we know that it's worth $2 to $3? What makes it worth $2 to $3? Like, where does the standard come in of how much something costs? Is it more so the work you have to put into it, or the cost of materials? Federal Reserve's made up the idea of money as a form of legal tender, like y'all said, it's made up. Because, and it's like, obviously, we go to work, we get paid, taxes, all that jazz. What's the standard of us getting paid? Is it our knowledge? How hard we work?
It's really.
Or is it how hard we are to replace?
Sorry, what's wrong with the throat clearing? Gosh, it's really based off of how much we get paid, is based off of the work plus the required state of living. You know?
Right.
Because if you're going to do a job, it's only worth the work that's done plus a little bit to keep you coming back. Which is, enough to feed yourself and to be alive. So basic commodities like gas, food, stuff like that.
It's like right now the cost of living is substantially higher than what the most common pay rates are actually existing, I guess. Did you know the whole world is over $240 trillion in debt, but there's only $3 trillion worth of actual valued goods? And see, that's the thing. How can you be in debt to another country? And what situation would you start to owe another country money?
Whenever you do, it's essentially extremely complicated version of borrowing. That's all it is. I borrow something for you and promise to give it back, and then never give it back, like the United States does. That's how it would work.
And it's like, the more money you put out in circulation, the less it's worth.
Yeah.
But however, the less money you put out in circulation, the more it's worth. It's all a made-up construct to keep the lower class in perpetual slavery. And see, that's another thing that I don't understand is classes. Obviously, whenever you make a certain amount off of your job, you get put into a class.
Well, classes are made specifically for tax brackets. That's all it is. It's a way to make the government more money off of your money.
Think about it. If we didn't have to pay taxes, we'd be a full republic.
Yeah.
That's not. We're like, I'd say about 90. We're about 95% republic.
Yeah. I mean, the way we vote is democratic, but the system is republic.
Right.
And it's got a mix of both. And there is a good mix of both, but there's also a bad mix of both. And they're both gonna exist at the same time. For example, we have freedoms, and that's based off of republic, but we have a democratic system, and that brings in taxes and voting and all these things that mix together with the republic to make our system. And it's not perfect, but it's pretty darn close to perfect. I mean, we've gotten through. We're the strongest nation. Now China is stronger than us, but we have been the strongest nation for a very long time, and we've had global power. We've been a global power, the global power, for many, many years.
Are completely illegal. Article 16 of the Constitution strictly prohibits any form of taxes other than general sales tax on international goods.
But there's a problem with that because no one cares. And I'm not saying it to be rude, but that's what the government has done to its people. It's made us not care, so it can keep pushing whatever it wants. Consider the Second Amendment right to bear arms. Now, you had the right, anything gun related, it was yours. I mean, they had cannons. They had, albeit it was crappy, but they had machine guns in World War II. You know,
It's like, yeah, the government's got to make their money somehow. But at the same time, how do they set how much money they get from us?
by dwindling the people's power, by growing their own power through non-traditional ways, through illegal ways, because no one will do anything about it. It really is. This is the Dr. Pepper Dark Berry. It is a limited edition flavor, and it is the best drink I think I've had in a very long time. Not sponsored, by the way, but Dr. Pepper, hey, hey, we need money. Wink.
It's like, for example, you see, I heard a good quote one time: "Evil progresses not because of its own strength, but because good does not stand up against it."
Yeah.
Very true, very true. But it's like,
And it forever will. I mean, there's always going to be, because I like to think of it this way: good people like the state of themselves. They don't care what other people do, because as long as the good person is doing what they need to do, why does it matter? You know, till something happens to that good person.
but let's go back to money for a second. You know, the worth of things. Let's, for instance,
Gosh, we're already 40 minutes into this. Bull crap. Bull crap.
fans, for example, they all do the same thing. They just push air, right?
Yeah.
That fan right there might cost $20. That's arrow speed. Take Lasco, for example. A Lasco box fan will cost you about $20. But now, bigger fans obviously cost more money. But it serves the same purpose. How can you define how much something costs by the materials? I mean, I guess, maybe rarity of the materials.
It'd be rarity, quantity, and quality. Because that fan is worth more than this fan because it's bigger. It has a better, I wouldn't say quality, but it does its job more efficient than this little fan does. And that would make that fan more valuable. Now, that fan has a bigger motor in it. That fan uses more electricity than this fan does. That will cost you, in the long run, a lot more than this little fan will because it's bigger. So why should that fan be charged more to get than that fan if that fan's going to cost you a lot more in the long run?
Right.
A lot more, comparatively. It's just everything is built in a way to a built. Our society is built in a way to give people power, individuals in specifically, and corporations are now coming through and finding little chinks in the shield, to kind of pick at, to get a little bit more gold off of that shield, make them a little bit more money. And by doing this, corporations themselves are naturally socialistic. Because that's what makes a corporation better, is a socialistic tendency. Okay? A full socialistic economy, all corporations will survive. It's just gonna happen because the government's on a corporation's side.
Right.
And that's what corporations strive for. That's why corporations as an entity are evil comparative to individuals. And there's some legislation that goes over this. I'm not specifically sure what it is, but it states how corporations are not counted as a human entity, or shouldn't be counted as. I don't know if it is an actual bill or if it was voted against, but it essentially was going to say that corporations should not be counted as human entities.
Socialism is basically a giant monopoly.
Yes, exactly. Well, it's a giant monopoly, including every item you quote unquote own, because you don't actually own it. You'd just be borrowing. For example, iPhones. Apple wanted to make iPhones impossible to repair by an individual. So they went and tried to sue any corporation, in any business, side business, anything, that were breaking into the phones themselves to fix them. They tried to sue them out of existence because it was bad for their business. They'd lose money. And Biden actually commented on this. The one good thing he did in his entire time as president is the right to self-repair bill. That allows every single person in the United States to freely repair their phones or electrical items whenever they want, however they want. So corporations cannot say, your phone's damaged, you have to buy a new phone. You can't get it fixed,
Let's see. There's more freedom in socialism than there is monopoly. Because monopoly is whenever you're the only one controlling a substance.
If you're talking about a monopoly through an individual, sure, but it's a monopoly through a corporation, and that's the problem we have there.
True.
Because monopolies through corporations control everything. Essentially, a corporation without restrictions becomes a government. Like Google, for example, they're limiting free speech. That's against the Constitution. But the Constitution, our government, cannot do anything against that. Because Google is so powerful, it's stronger than our Constitution. It has more power than our government does. Yeah.
It's like money brings power.
Yeah.
Because let's take water versus the price of gasoline. And I'm going to tie this into money. Obviously, gasoline costs substantially more than water. And in order for government regulation and government business to stay in business, they have to buy that oil from somewhere else to produce the gasoline.
Mm-hmm.
Well, back in the early 70s, 80s, I think somewhere around in that time frame, you remember the story of the man who created the car that could run off of water.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got killed by the FBI.
Not even inching to it, but no, FBI capped him.
It wasn't even they didn't even cover it up.
Yeah.
Just hey, he's got a car that runs off of something that brings us money, or he's got a car that's running off of something that doesn't bring the government money. Out.
Captain Blaze.
Out of the game.
They control everything. Raymond Noodle says they control everything, so they dictate price of everything, including wages, prices of goods and services, basic costs of living, travel, taxes, etc. He also says everywhere now is beginning. Wait, what? Sorry. Everywhere now is beginning to limit free speech. and filter information based on the common narrative, in quotations. Even DuckDuckGo is now being censored and propagandized.
I mean, even Google is censored in a way.
No, Google commits censorship. It's not censored. So does DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo used to be a free, open browser. Now it's censoring what its users can see and use, which is the whole point of people using DuckDuckGo. I tried to use DuckDuckGo for a good little while, but they do the same thing as Google. They're just smaller. And people might say, "Oh, well, they're better." No, they're not. They do the same thing. I agree.
Like the government starts losing money is whenever they start abusing excess power.
Say that again?
Like whenever the government starts using or losing money, they start using an excess of power.
I think that's not necessarily true. I think government. Well, yeah, okay. I think they have loopholes that they know about that they use in situations where they find a giant opportunity for themselves, and that gains them the ability to continuously use said loophole against the people. You know what I mean?
Like right now with what pipeline is it they shut down?
I don't know what you're talking about. I can't remember.
It's like the government's getting more money by shutting or creating a lack of resources for us to have gasoline.
Well, that's not even what happened with that situation because that pipeline, the pipeline Joe Biden shut down, had not been set into. It wasn't working. He had shut down the construction of a pipeline. That pipeline was not operable. What he did do that negatively affected the people is he cut fracking. He banned fracking, and that is the sucking up of oil from the ground. And, you know, so now we have less creation of fracking in America, of oil in America, and now we are a mass importer of oil from other nations.
Treaty that the U.S. has signed today, giving the WHO complete governmental control even over the Constitution. What is the WHO?
The WHO? That is the the WHO. I know what they are. I've forgotten what their name is. WHO. Yeah, World Health Organization. I went for a blank there. Y'all should talk about the WHO treaty that the U.S. is signing today, giving the WHO complete government control, even over the Constitution.
First I'm hearing of this.
Yeah, first time I've heard about it. We'll look into it. I'll look into it. I don't know if he will.
Maybe next week.
And I might bring that up next week as a topic.
But let's get off the topic of money. Let's get off on the topic of legalizing cannabis.
Cannabis.
Well, not in its entirety.
Not entirely, but it is.
Y'all ain't heard because the mainstream media won't air it.
Well, I listen to a lot of non-mainstream individuals, mostly through YouTube. I haven't heard anything about this at all.
Legalization of THC in that fact. THC in a definition in chemistry, a crystalline compound that is the main active ingredient of cannabis. Weed's been here forever. Whether you want to call it weed, pot, hash, whatever the case may be, weed has been here for ages.
Since the Indians, like before the Indians, it's just a plant.
The Indians used to smoke peyote.
Yeah.
This is like a good bit more powerful and
it was
mind inhibiting
like
than
2.5 times stronger than weed or something like that. And it had hallucinogenics in it too.
But see, like, and what most people don't realize when it comes to legalization, that the government actually tried doing a mind control program. That's where the invention of LSD came from.
Yeah. That was the FBI, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, that was the FBI. I've heard about this story.
Because they wanted to do a mind control program. And see, for me, doing all the research, for college, writing papers, etc., you see the benefits and harmful things that it can produce. But I mean, that's with anything.
Yeah. I mean, you drink Dr. Pepper, your teeth's gonna go bad.
But it's like, let's take money for example. Even though I said we should just get off of money. The government taxes everything that it can, including alcohol. It's a sin tax. Yeah. There is so much margin for gain whenever you legalize marijuana. Because, I mean, obviously, the whole Delta 8, CBD, and mixes stuff is being sold in just about anywhere you go today. But at the same, and there's shops up in, like, Tennessee and different states, Colorado, that are selling this stuff in dispensaries. Yeah. Where it's fully legal. And the only reason, in my opinion, that the government ever really deemed it illegal, other than the effects of it, they couldn't tax it.
Yeah. That's the only reason they won't legalize it completely. That's the reason they will not put their fist down and go, it's illegal now. Is because they can't get to a situation where they can tax the ever-living crap out of it. See, and really they are. They're slowly moving it to a taxed state by doing what they're doing. The, CBD we were talking about a second ago. Or whatever it was. And
it's like we can design how strong alcohol is by how it's brewed, how it's distilled, whatever the case may be. Yeah, it might be a little bit more work, but dude, and that would open plenty of jobs as well.
Yeah.
Genetic modification of the cannabis plant.
It would literally be a stimulant for the economy.
Right. But it's like, we can control how strong alcohol is. We can get to the point where we can control how strong weed is.
I've thought about that a lot. They are genetically...
Control your Dr. Pepper.
Shut up. They're genetically modifying goats, okay? Back in 2014, something like that, 2015, the first ever genetically engineered goat was born. Now, they took I think it was it was a clone, I'm sorry. The first ever clone of a goat was born. And they took this egg, okay, unfertilized egg, and copied the DNA from a fertilized egg and put it in the unfertilized egg. And made a exact replica of the goat or sheep or whatever it was. And it lived, it wasn't like a little, it died at birth. No, it lived. It's like 6 or something like that, What do we think of the COVID vaccines? That's a good one. You fine with answering this question, or you want to continue on? The COVID?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll circle back to your question, just like Nancy. I had it and then it left. What's the ginger up in office that just quit a little while ago? She was the Speaker of the House, the Speaker of the President.
You're not talking about Nancy Pelosi.
Not Nancy Pelosi. It's the ginger. God, Jen Psaki. We'll circle back around to that at the end of the podcast, just like Jen Psaki does. So, yeah, I butchered that, but continue with the.
It's like, and like here in the surrounding areas, like anything less than an ounce, they deem it as personal use,
Yeah.
even though it's still illegal. It's not a ticketable offense if it's less than an ounce.
I think everything should be legalized. Like everything personally used like that should be legalized. Because it's not the government's, like, I think suicide shouldn't be encouraged, but I think it should be open to the public to do. Because I know that's a really, like, out there statement, but I'll get to it. Hold on. Because it's gonna happen, and it's always extremely horrific when it does, and it should not happen at all. But by creating situations where we cannot get to suicide victims, it enables them more of a chance to die. And we need it, like in Futurama, let's say, they have suicide pods, okay? And there's going to get a point where there's so many people committing suicide because the population will be so big that we need a way to deal with that, you know?
At the same time, suicide is mostly caused by mental issues or physical issues.
Yeah.
Which is also a good reason to legalize marijuana, because there's some people out there that do not like medicine.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's illegal to, air quote, illegal to smoke pot. I mean, people still do it every day. I feel like that should be an option to those that are suicidal.
And I'm not saying suicide's a good thing. I'm just saying at a certain point need to be a way to deal with it all, you know? And there will have to be a solution for it. And I know that sounds crazy. And it really is crazy. I agree, it is crazy. But it's something that will happen eventually, you know? I think Futurama has that on the point what's going to happen.
It's like weed's illegal, but aspirin is perfectly legal. You don't even need a prescription for aspirin.
Yeah.
But you take 18 of them things, it'll be your last headache.
Yeah, it will. I think that's personal use. I think the government should not be able to tell you what you can and cannot consume. Now, if it gets to a point where you're harming other people, then government action can be taken to hold you in, for the crimes you've committed. Right. Because you've chosen to consume those consumables, and you have gone crazy in a way to commit a crime.
The reason cannabis isn't legalized is because of the health benefits. That's why they provide it through the pharmaceutical system so they can make money off of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Like alcohol?
Big Farm is making money off of cannabis.
Alcohol is legal. You know why alcohol is legal? Because we've already gone through this situation of it not being legal.
Right. Prohibition era.
Exactly.
They found out that the people
are going to do it anyways, and it made them more money to keep it legal.
Marijuana is very different from cannabis. It's just one of the main ingredients of marijuana.
I know. You're going to have to update me on that. Why is that? What is that? I thought they were the same thing. I'm not a weed guy. I might sound like it, but I'm not.
Cannabis itself can be derived from marijuana.
Okay, what's the plant's name? The plant itself. Like, what's the actual name? Is it marijuana or?
Marijuana is the plant. THC is the cannabinoid molecule in marijuana. But you can also.
So what is cannabis? Is it like a more not threatening but concentrated form of marijuana? Or how is that? I thought it was all the same thing.
Cannabis it's like similar to marijuana. It's a tall plant with a stiff.
Oh, so it's a different plant.
Divided, serrated leaves with granular hairs. It is used to produce hemp fiber and as a drug.
Bro, I did not know that. Wow. We're learning stuff today, boy.
It's Also, we derive marijuana from the cannabis plant. It's just THC is the active ingredient.
Yeah.
As well as CBD and all the other good jazz. But at the same time, circling back to prohibition, the government found out that the people were still going to make it, regardless of the law.
Mm-hmm. And still sold it massively.
Right.
And it actually started creating underground traffic deals with what was it? Underground traffic deals with alcohol. That was
Marijuana is derived from cannabis. I said that right.
yes. That is massively effective. You know, they made a whole crap ton of money.
Right.
Underground railroad with alcohol. You know, moonshine and everything.
And it also created I guess you could call it an art because there was a use of deception as well. They made it strong and genetically modified through the years of controlled reproduction. That is right. You can grow.
That I knew. That I knew.
One of the ways you can do that is hydroponics.
What is that? I've heard of it, but I've forgotten.
It's a way of using some water of
Hydro water.
duh. I don't know the exact way, but somehow it makes it stronger. I guess
it's more concentrated. That's what I think. That's what you're thinking.
Right.
I think you're thinking it sucks the THC out of it and puts it into a more focused form.
Well, see,
condensed form.
Obviously, you know how when
concentrated form.
The conditions of which something grows has a lot with that. It has a lot to do with the outcome of a product.
I mean,
hold on.
I know I'm perfectly fine with the GMO to an extent. If you take a fruit, genetically modify it, and do it correctly, there's nothing harmful that will happen to the person. The fruits will be bigger, more nutritious, and yes, I know people have said that they are less nutritious, but you can genetically modify a fruit to change that symptom of modification, you know? And you can get them more juicy, more fresh, last longer, naturally resistant to insects, pests, and everything, while keeping it healthy and nutritious for a person. But the problem is we got humans running everything behind that, and the government behind that. So we have no clue what the frick the government's going to do to us. Right. We don't know if they're putting unfreaking activated AIDS in our spaghetti noodles. You know, the government does crazy crap on its people.
Hydroponics is it speeds growth and maximizes yield of growing marijuana.
Oh, so it's like a greenhouse, but extremely. It's like a greenhouse, but for a specific plant.
Right, it's like growing in a more sterile, more inert environment than regular soil.
Yeah, I see what you mean here. Natural cannabis has virtually no THC in it, but is so beneficial your cardiovascular and vascular system, as well as your neurological system, specifically your stress.
Modification through years of controlled reproduction is actually safe, but the immediate gene splicing and altering of foods and genetic mixing of foods is absolutely dangerous. That is because you can never really find out what the outcome of doing that.
Yeah,
I can't.
It's definitely dangerous, but that's why we have experiments that would go through with like mice and stuff, you know, because mice can eat a lot of stuff we can eat, and they react the same way to a lot of foods we eat. That's why we use them specifically in like food tests and stuff like that. Some medicine, specifically injections, not consuming. But it's the same reason we use monkeys for makeup, because they react similarly to humans reacting to.
Right. Like.
But we have ways to test before using humans for them. And even then, you have humans that like don't care if they're gonna die. and it's what is it called? It's like you might die, but this might work. Experimental medicine, stuff like that. That's legal. People do that all the time.
And people sign up for stuff like that too as well.
Yeah. And that could be open to the public. It's like, hey, you want to try out this new food? See if it's good for your peers. If not, you might die. But hey, it's work of science.
Let's circle back to the weed for a second.
Weed.
It's like bars exist. You can go to a bar and drink.
I agree.
And in a more reputable bar, they're going to cut you off at a certain extent if you're by yourself.
Yeah.
Why can't let's make something similar to that? Obviously, with diminishing the strength of marijuana, let's create a place where people can go to a place.
Smokehouse.
Right.
Smoked in, whatever you want to call
We
it.
call it a hash bar, even.
Awesome. I like smokehouse because it's like they get it confused with meat.
Right.
You walk into there expecting ribeyes and you just smell weed. See a whole bunch of dudes.
Whoa!
Dang, it was loud. See a whole bunch of dudes upside down on the table.
Natural controlled modifications through natural reproduction is no different than natural selection over generations of time, which is why it's safe, but chimeric species mixing is abominable.
They'd be referencing gene splicing.
Yeah, because you're going to create something that...
I think it's abominable for more meaty things like animals, bugs, and stuff, because that could be. Scientists have played around with that kind of stuff, and you can get extremely bad outcomes from, let's say, a cow horse combination. Legs sticking out, whole bunch of pain for the animal specifically. It's just all around not a good thing. Normally they're abnormal, and yeah, and it's not good. Not good. And I think we should strive away from that on animals and humans, and anything that has sensors for pain that can be tortured. But plants don't have pain receptors. They're either alive or dead. They either turn on and off. They're a very simple plant. I think that's where we disagree, and we could talk about that. It'd have to be a little bit later, and we still have to circle around to your COVID question. But yeah, once we get done talking about this,
And, for the fact, people still, you can drink up to a certain amount and still be able to drive what is like 0.08 of blood alcohol content. Why can't we create a method that measures like blood cannabis content, like to see how much exactly is in your system?
I think they do. I think that is a thing, but they're not.
I mean, it's like even your normal
Doing it.
urine tests. All that tests is whether it's in your system or not.
Yeah. Not how much or anything, just if it is there or not.
As far as I'm aware, yes. But
I mean, you wouldn't really.
and like let's create restrictions on it as well, because people get arrested for drunk driving. We can do the same thing to make it more.
What is weed? Is weed a stimulant or a suppressant? So Google that real quick.
I'm not. It's more of a hallucinogen.
I mean, even then, that would be a stimulant or a suppressant. Like alcohol's a suppressant. It's not a stimulant. It dulls the senses. It makes everything slower.
Weed can be classified as a depressant, stimulant, or hallucinogen. So it's one of three. There's no way to actually test THC specific levels in someone to determine if they are high because it maintains in their system for nearly 5 weeks. Then how would I want to know
That'd
how
be
we would go
traces.
about that.
I mean, that would be traces. Not necessarily a whole bunch in your system, but let's say the high goes over, your brain's already processed everything. You know, your body's processed it, and it's just
Right.
still in your body.
Right.
Not necessarily
It's in
being.
the blood.
Exactly.
It's not like more so alcohol where it's processed through the liver, through the kidneys, and out through your urine.
And it floats around until it's all gathered up, and you know, that's how I see it. I think we could find a way to figure out how to test for THC in people. It would probably it would have to be through the blood. I don't know if you could.
You basically have to take a sobriety test for THC.
Yeah.
And I guess too, you know, what's it called? Tolerance as well.
Tolerance has nothing to do with how much would be in your system. Well, I mean, you would have more in your system, but
I'm talking like more so the effects.
so you're saying if somebody was very tolerant to weed, they could still drive compared to somebody else who wasn't, or
Well, it like more so kind of debunks my thing for having, you know, how much in your system. Because,
people react differently.
right, like,
You could have 2 blunts and be okay. I could have half a blunt and die.
not me.
I'm just doing an example like that.
Blunts are larger than your, like, natural joint bowl.
Correct, right?
Right.
Okay.
It's like some people, that's normal for them.
Well, I mean, you could say the same with alcohol, but we still do it by a specific number standard, whether you have a high tolerance or not.
Right.
And there's some people, very few people, but like coffee, you know, it makes them perform their job better to be drunk. But you would still get in trouble for being drunk.
Right.
Even though you're doing it correctly and doing what you need to do. That's just the law we have set down. It would be a not a gray area, it would be a black and white. If you're drunk, you're going to the jailhouse, brother. Even that though can be difficult through. Sorry, I suck at reading sometimes.
That though can be difficult though, because even like with alcohol, some people have a tolerance and aren't as susceptible to the effects, which is also right. But at the same time, like what Simon was saying, they're still going to be able to read.
There'll still be something to read at that moment.
The breathalyzer test.
Not only that, I mean, we have specifically the movement tests, like walking a straight line.
Yeah.
A majority of people,
Field sobriety test.
yeah, a majority of people still feel effects from alcohol that would make them, you know, inebriated in some sort of way.
Right.
And you'd be able to tell physically. Now, there are going to be those few people that do not, and that's where the breathalyzer comes in. That's where they can't pin it down. It's like they can't prove you're drunk if you walk a straight line.
Right.
But the reason you stumble on those lines, that gives them probable cause. Hey, this person's drunk, and then they, you know, have that leeway.
Let's see, we covered taxes off of it. We talked about ways you can consume it other than the shops and the creation of like the equivalent of a bar.
I think there's a lot of medical uses for marijuana.
Right.
There's been some studies that marijuana helps reduce some cancers.
It reduces or even stops the growth of cancer cells.
Yeah. Now that's not like a cure for cancer, but that's definitely a help.
Right, and it's like people with like severe autism.
Yeah. I was about to say that. I could get me some weed right now. You know, I could pick up that crap. I could all day. You know, but like.
That was just like saying though someone can smoke a drink 10 times someone else and be more sober than the other person. Right, and if you're going at an equivalent rate, I'm not sure exactly what that would be in reference to. But
what I was talking about earlier. with the drinking more than the other person and being, acting correctly.
Got you. The tolerance thing.
I couldn't say that. We can't think if you haven't noticed.
Yes, we can.
No, we can't. I can't. You can?
I can.
I'm sorry.
It's dangerous.
It is, yeah. That's where ideas come from. That's how you shoot people. That's how you become a school shooter, Parker. You don't do that.
Like I said, tolerance.
Yeah.
Tolerance and moderation. Key.
But yeah, there's a lot of medicinal purposes for weed. Like stress specifically, ADHD, weed helps a lot with.
Parkinson's.
Parkinson's, yep.
Especially.
It's been known to help Parkinson's.
Watching this video, the man, he was on a couch and you just see him shaking
Uh-huh.
uncontrollably. The man gave him a cannabis roll and he, dabbled it around, got it in the system, and he was up and going at what you would call a normal standard. Like air quote normal standard, because normality can be measured differently in a way.
Yeah. It's ADHD, autism. It helps people focus a lot better than what they would previously. It chills people out. People who have stress, really bad anxiety, stage performance anxiety.
I talk funny sometimes.
I talk funny all the time.
And it's like, see, Adderall does the same thing in some people.
Mm-hmm. So does coffee. Coffee's a stimulant. It's a drug. Like, it's a drug, not like a...
Adderall does opposite effects.
Yep.
For people that don't need it.
Yep.
They space out. In my way of thinking, it feels like weed would be the same general area of effects, I guess. It's just more so how you perceive the effects of the THC, weed, whatever you want to call it. But I think that kind of covers it. Do you want to go around to the
we can circle back
vaccine thing now?
Try to find, what was your vaccine question? Yeah, I think it was just what we thought of the vaccine, right?
Well, he added on to it.
And I'll try to find it. Hold on.
Go down.
No.
What do you think of the COVID vaccines? Do you know what they are doing? Do you know how they work? Are they safe? What is in them?
Okay.
For me,
let's just break down this question. Do you know what they are doing? I don't know what you mean by that.
They're injecting people with antibodies, I think. Would it be antibodies or?
Now, I know the vaccines themselves, they used to be not safe, especially at the very beginning. They were not safe. They did not work, period. They, in fact, infected people with COVID and made them more likely to get COVID. These vaccines all around have just been non-effective and the exact opposite of what...
Cocaine. I'm sorry.
They've been the exact opposite of what the government has tried to claim. You can see this in, let's say, Denmark, for example. They have a 90-something vaccination rate, and like 80% of their population has had COVID or something like that.
We've seen more harmful effects than beneficial in the COVID vaccine.
Yep, I agree. It's an mRNA tech that is genetically splicing your DNA.
I guess in a way it's supposed to make you less susceptible to it. Because mRNA is half DNA. But at the same time,
what it is because COVID itself is RNA. It's an RNA-based, whatever the frick you want to call it.
Virus, I guess.
Virus, yes. It does not have... it's not DNA. It's simple. It's ribonucleic acid. It's a simpler form of a virus, which makes it a lot easier to procreate and reproduce and change. That's why it's so volatile, and that's why people freaked out so much about it. It was because it changed.
How easy it was to get it and how susceptible it was to evolve.
Exactly. It was the evolving that made it scary, not the effect of the... Well, I guess it was extremely transmissible, too, which we saw that.
What does not help is genetically modifying man's DNA, essentially turning it into chimera, as in the days of Noah. And see, with me, I've never gotten the flu shot, mainly just because all it is an older version of the flu to help build up your antibodies, which kind of makes me.
It's a dormant version of the flu that sits around in your DNA, and your body sees it as a foreign object. And what your body does is
That's where your
red
white
alarm,
blood cells.
it red
starts to
alarms,
act.
and your body fights it as it was a active virus, but it doesn't do anything. So then you get the resistance to it because it takes time for the resistance to build up. And once it builds up, then you'll be immune to it, essentially.
Because, like, with me, they say, oh, if you take melatonin, if you got this, then you're less susceptible to COVID.
Yeah.
They even said, which I'm kind of thankful for because I haven't had it, I have an O negative blood type, and they say people with O blood types are less susceptible to get COVID.
Well, that's because you're built differently.
Yeah, I'm built different.
No, literally, it's just it's used to because A positive is more common than O negative. Simple as that. The virus is going to be more used to fighting a blood type of that specific way than fighting an O negative. There's just different O positive, sorry. And it just is easier. You know what I'm saying? It does something over and over again to something that is the same.
Right.
And then something different is a little harder for it.
It's like with me, I kind of like the natural building of immune systems, I guess.
Eat dirt, touch grass.
Play in the dirt. Go make you some mud cakes. But, like, I've been around COVID 4 times now.
Yeah.
Well over the recommended time or distance.
Define what you mean, Raymond, by killing your immune system. I don't think I agree with that. I think it compromises your immune system. I wouldn't agree with killing it.
It doesn't degrade it to the point of where it's more susceptible.
No. I would disagree with that too.
But, like, in the last time I was in a vehicle with a person for about an hour that had it,
Yeah.
and hadn't realized it.
I mean, I've had COVID 3 times. Worst thing I got was a really bad dry nose. So bad it gave me a headache, and the headache was the worst part.
The first time was one of my classmates. I gave him a hug, walked down the hallway with him. I sat through class with him. The second time, one of my previous managers had it.
Mhm.
I had to work with him, sniffling, sneezing, whatever the case may be. I was actually twice at the same job because somebody else was around like 10 people, and they ended up having it.
Yeah.
The third one was my manager, and the fourth one, being in the vehicle.
Yeah.
Somehow, still have not had it. I am very grateful.
That's good.
But
I've had it 3 times.
and it's like the government's using money to get people to get the vaccine.
Yeah.
Like in certain jobs, they'll pay you to get the vaccine.
Oh, yeah. If I do.
It's like money being a concept. I'm not worried about money.
In general, let's say this, have you heard about the monkeypox that has been going around? It's a really rashy, really irritable version of oh God, what is it called?
Chickenpox?
Not chickenpox. It's that one they said that went extinct, that they eradicated. It was like back in 2003 or something like that. 2009, something like that. But anyways, it's like a cross of that, and it's like spreading again, and it's super bad rashes, really irritable bleeding, and they're creating. They already have. I forgot where I was going with this. I got so confused. I just forgot where I was going. Ignore me.
That is also something that shouldn't be forced on people, like the whole mask mandate and everything.
Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, I remember what I was gonna say. If it was actually bad, people would get it. If it would actually hurt people, you wouldn't have to pay people to get it. If I knew that a bullet was going to kill me, I would wear a vest, you know?
Right.
But if somebody was shooting BBs at me, sure, I will wear some eye protection, aka wash my hands, but I'm not going to put on a full vest because somebody's shooting little weak BBs at me, you know?
Like shooting you with a CO2
throwing
gun.
acorns at me, you know? That's not going to work. Like, hey, stop throwing acorns.
It's more aggravating than anything.
Mm-hmm. Not like the airsoft, you know, that's different.
It's like a whole mag dump on you.
That's not fully on. What do you mean? That's fully on.
No full auto in the buildings.
Oh, that's not full auto. What do you mean that's not full auto?
That's not full auto.
This is full auto. Oh, dang, okay, man. But yeah, that's what we think of that. I think that under Trump, I still think that this COVID vaccine was still not going to be effective. It came out too quickly. There was not enough tests on it. I think it would have been essentially ironed out. I think that all of the flaws would had eventually been refurbished, but under the Biden administration, it was just thrown under the bus and just mass reproduced. No worries. I mean, we heard that whatever the frick it was, one of the COVID manufacturers, it created heart issues with a lot of young people, not older people, younger people, and they had to go. Obviously, it was a rare case, but it was common enough for it to strike fear into people, you know. Okay. Well, the mRNA tech doesn't actually kill your immune system. It's the graphene oxide that can be self-assembled through certain frequencies, 5G, like nanotech, and from software inside you. That's getting a bit to the kind of out there idea. I That's not going to happen. Let's see. It can be self-assembled. There is no technology that can be self-assembled via, like you're talking about, via 5G. Like, of course, you can send information like through 5G. Um, I mean, the monkeypox is obviously, and I'm not making fun of you, but I do actually believe the monkeypox is genetically made specifically for another COVID. I think it is all set up. I think COVID happened on accident. I think it was a complete accident. I think that every government saw it as a political weapon, used it as a political weapon, and now that COVID's over with, they've lost the public's opinion, or they've lost the public's acceptance of the government power, and they're manufacturing a new one to, you know, take more power, to seize more power. But yeah, like we were saying a second ago, nothing like that through a vaccine. Like you're talking about nano machines. We don't have anything like that. There's nothing developed. That's why they bought over 13 million monkeypox vaccines back in 2019 for the unfortunate potential of a monkeypox. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I know for a fact. I can agree very strongly that there's a lot of proof and evidence that there was going to be a monkeypox outbreak on purpose. Trump is all a part of it too. I disagree with that. I think Trump was a wild cannon. He had his benefits for the government, but he was a massive negative effect on the overall idea of what the government behind the scenes wanted to do. I think they kept him out of it a lot, and I think he was just a crazy bystander who did not know what he was getting into. But I think he did well for what he did. Oh dang, it's 7:30.
That's a pretty good cast.
I think we have too. Good long conversations, good conversations.
I'll give you something to think about before we leave. Outer space is not empty. It literally contains everything there is.
Yeah.
Think about that. Marinate on it.
That's it. Let it smolder. And we'll see y'all next week, Sunday at 6 p.m. This is Simon, and I'm
This is
out.
I'm also out.